Welcome everyone, my name's Soph, and this is my attempt to beat a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Black 2 with only Dragon-type Pokemon. If you've seen my videos before or other Monotype hardcore Nuzlockes, you know the rules, but I'll put them up for reference if you want to pause and check them out. Now I'm gonna say this right off the bat, the Dragon-type has been the single most requested type by you guys for our hardcore Nuzlockes, and for good reason. It has perhaps been the most popular type since Pokemon's inception and is known as being very powerful overall. With that said, I haven't used the Dragon-type in any of our runs yet because, well, the Dragon-type also happens to be incredibly rare, making it so you can't get enough encounters, or any encounters early enough in-game to make a run viable. However, I found a way to make a completely viable run in Black 2, so let's make it happen. In total, Black 2 and White 2 have all these fully evolved Dragon Pokemon within them. However, the situations with the encounters in Hardcore Nuzlocke format are incredibly interesting, so I won't say any more than that. This should be a fun one, so buckle in and let's tackle one of the hardest and best games with the most requested type of all time. Just before we get into it, I want to note that only 28% of people watching my videos lately are subscribed to the channel, so if you've been enjoying the Nuzlockes, just double check to make sure that you're subscribed as it's free and helps out the channel a ton. Thanks guys, let's get into the run. For our starter, I decided to pick Snivy and nickname it Mayweather, because, well, he's gonna get boxed. We get a Pokedex from Bianca and... hey, I want a Pokedex too! Off Hugh, nobody cares. After Bianca gives us some Pokeballs, the run officially begins. Now I know what you're thinking. Sylph, you're on the first route in the game. Where the hell are you gonna find a Dragon type among the Patrats and P-Doves? Well, I'm glad you asked. You see, in Gen 5, Game Freak introduced an app for the 3DS called the Pokemon Dream Radar, which allowed you to essentially catch Pokemon and import them directly into your game. Since it's an app that's associated with the Gen 5 games and is the only way to get certain Pokemon like the Therian forms of the Forces of Nature, it technically doesn't break our no connecting to other main series games rule either. The vast majority of these Dream Radar Pokemon are only available very late in game, however for new players they introduced 5 Pokemon that you could import from the start of the game. One of which is Swablu. Now granted, Swablu is a normal and flying type to start, but it does evolve into a dragon type, so for our purposes, it's gonna be fair game. It does take a while to find, but eventually we do catch one and can transfer it over. I decided to nickname it Lakitu, and it has a gentle nature which means plus special defense and minus defense. Meh, not bad. On our way through Route 19, we encounter this kid who's all excited to show us how to jump over the ledge. But I say no thank you, and he's all dejected. Alright, fine, show me. Awesome job, kiddo. Then, out of nowhere, the former champion of the Unova region tries to one-up him by jumping off of a f***ing cliff. How do you like them apples, kid? Now, I noticed it was raining on Route 20, and when the battle starts, I realized that Swablu has its hidden ability, Cloud 9, which cancels out weather. Ha! Take that. Alright, that did literally nothing for us. In the incredibly conspicuous grass at the Flossessi Ranch, we can face off against Psyducks and Mareeps, which both provide special attack EVs, which are great for Lakitu. With that, a rival battle is upon us, and Lakitu's Cloud 9 is actually a detriment since it stops the rain, which would weaken Tepig's fire moves. But thankfully, it only seems to have Tackle here, so we can edge it out with the same type attack bonus or Stab Peck. What a beast. From one of the Team Plasma members, we can get the Frustration TM, and Alder gives us some Oran Berries on our way to the Aspertia City Gym. Speaking of which, it's time to see what Lakitu's made of. The first gym is a normal type gym, which is of course neutral against us. Against the trainers, we essentially just rely on our level advantage and slug it out with them with a couple close calls, but we're able to make it to Gym Leader Charon quite smoothly. Before the battle, I teach the Frustration TM to Lakitu, which grows in power the more the Pokemon dislikes its trainer, and given that we've just met him, I'm assuming he kinda hates us at the moment, which is fantastic. And it's also a stab move. I also attach an Oran Berry and pray that we'll make it through. Charon leads with a level 11 Patrat. Since it has worked up to raise its attack, I know I can't let it charge those up, so I go for 55% accuracy Sing, and we land it to put it to sleep. From here, I start hitting it with Frustration, and we bring it below half before it wakes up and hits us with Tackle. I know Charon's gonna try and potion this thing if we bring it in range, so I use Sing again, and it lands, and after the potion we can take it out in 3 more hits, having only taken 1 tackle. Not bad, but in comes the big threat, his level 13 Lillipup. Now the problem here is that it has the Vital Spirit ability, which means it can't be put to sleep at all. However, I figure he's going to try and charge up with Workup, which is dangerous for us, so I start using Growl to lower its attack, and he does indeed. Now, I know that Growl has more power points than Workup, so even if he keeps spamming it, we'll eventually be able to lower his attack more than he can raise it. After 7 turns of this, it seems he's had enough and goes for tackle, but that means we've lowered his attack below neutral since we outspeed, so it only does 7 HP damage. From here, I start using Frustration, which does surprisingly little, and he hits us below half to activate our Oranberry. It's looking like a close matchup, but we do get a crit on one of our attacks, bringing him into the red, allowing us to take him down with 10 HP left. Man, that battle is not designed for Swablu at all, but we pulled through for our first badge. If I were to do that over again, I'd be a little less kind to Swablu so that Frustration does more damage. It would have definitely made that battle more manageable. After the gym, Bianca gives us the Return TM, which should be useful once Swablu is a bit friendlier, and we eventually make it to Verbank City. Our first impression of the city is quickly tainted by Gym Leader Roxy scolding her dad. What is with kids parenting their parents in these games? The same was true of Bianca in the original Black and White, if you'll remember. Using our stealthy ninja tactics, we can sneak around to get the Silk Scarf to power up normal moves, a perfect item for Lakitu. The Verbank Complex gives us lots of training, and we get the Thief and Rock Smash TMs in the process, and it's time for the second gym. The Verbank Gym is a Poison-type gym, and the trainers themselves have some bulky Pokemon like Grimer and Coughing. I decided to teach Lakitu the Return TM since his friendship is probably getting higher, as I've actively been giving it items and using it in battle a lot obviously, and combined with the Silk Scarf, this is able to do some good damage against their Pokemon. Thankfully, right at the level cap of level 18, we learn Round, a special normal move which I think is better for Gym Leader Roxy's high physical defense Pokemon, but I'm certainly nervous about her bulk. Let's see how this goes. Roxy leads with a level 16 Coughing, and I go for Stab Silk Scarf boosted Round right away, which does well over half. Damn, nice. She then hits us with Assurance before we can take it down with another attack, after which we also level up as planned. Our second and final Pokemon is a level 18 Whirlipede, and aside from its high defense, this is another reason why Round is better. It has the Poison Point ability which could activate if we were using Return. Round does about a third or so, and it hits us with Venoshock, which does 12 HP damage. We then bring it below half, and we got brought to 16 HP, but then our third round brings it to what must be 1 HP, and we get brought to 6 HP. Oh no. Knowing she'll potion here, I decide to go for Sing, and thankfully it lands, but we are in a bad position here. We just have to hope that she does not wake up, but after our second attack it does, and hits us with Venoshock to take us down and end the run entirely. Oh man, that was so unlucky. Operating with just Swablu at the outset is difficult. On our second attempt with a new Swablu named Lakitu, why do I do this to myself? Who has a quirky, neutral nature, and with a better Frustration power level, we managed Charon quite well and got to Roxy again. Now this time, I know that our only error was just barely not being able to take down the Venipede in 3 hits, so I ensured we got some more special attack EVs so that we could indeed get into the 3-hit KO range and avoid the Super Potion use. And this does indeed work well to win us our second badge, with us being brought to just below half. Up next is Pokestar Studios, and you know what? I'm not even gonna say anything this time. Last time, there were actually a surprising number of people in the comments who were mad that I trash-talked it, saying that they actually like it. We need to settle this once and for all. In the comments, comment whether or not you like Pokestar Studios. I'm gonna tally them up and post the results on Twitter, I swear to God. This needs to be solved. After Roxy puts her dad in timeout, we're able to travel to the beautiful Castelia City. Those of you who have played the Gen 5 games before know that this place is massive and is an absolute item bonanza. Here we're able to pick up things like the Experience Share to help us with the level cap, the Charcoal to boost fire moves, the Mystic Water to boost water moves, Leftovers, the Hardstone, and perhaps most importantly, we also use the wild Pokemon on battles in Route 4 to get our Pokedex to exactly 40, which allows us to get the Eviolite from this generous scientist, which increases the defenses of unevolved Pokemon. Now leading into the third gym, we have a massive problem. Since we've only been using Swablu, it is dangerously close to passing the level cap even with the experience share on our HM Mon, and I don't think we'd make it to Berg. However, Castelia happens to be the new location of Fennel's lab, and Fennel just might save us all. Gen 5 introduced a new area to the game called the Dream World, which was accessed through the Pokemon website, where you could catch a whole bunch of cool Pokemon through your Pokemon's dreams, which Fennel could then transfer to your party, kind of similar to the Pokewalker from Heart Gold and Soul Silver. The servers did shut down in 2014, but I did play it back in the day. The Pokemon within it were accessible during the main lifespan of these games. There are fan-made servers that you can still access, and I hosted a poll among my subscribers, and out of 15,000 of you, 93% said it's fair game for an encounter. In the Icy Cave, which is a default area of the Dream World, which thankfully you don't have to unlock, we can find our second encounter, a Drudigon. which is otherwise only available way later on in Victory Road. We catch one and nickname it Shredder, and Shredder has a hardy nature which is neutral and its hidden ability of Mold Breaker, which is honestly probably its worst one, but it saves the run so we can't complain. Druddigon from the Dream World also have the Fire Fang move, which is normally only possible through breeding, so that's incredible. With our new team member in play, it's time to hit up the Bug-type Castelia Gym. Now Druddigon with Fire Fang and the Charcoal item attached is a monster against the trainers and also prevents Lakitutu from over-leveling, which is the most important thing here. In no time we make it to Berg, the third gym leader, who I'm now feeling a little bit less concerned about than I initially was. Berg starts off with a Swadloon and I decide to send in Lakitutu first. We do have Stab 4x super effective Peck, which does about 2/3, and then he uses String Shot to lower our speed before we KO him. In comes Dwebble next, and Lakitutu can't touch this thing at all with its rock typing and super high defense, and it has super effective Smackdown on us, so I switch into Shredder, who gets hit for 9 HP by Smackdown. Firefang then does about 1/3, even less than I thought, but we can KO it in 3 hits after it brings us to 2/3. His final Pokemon is Leavanny, and it goes for Cut to bring us below half before we can one-hit KO it with 4x super effective Firefang. Incredible. 3 badges down, and now the game starts opening up for us after the struggle that we've been through. On Route 4, we have to battle Colress before the desert is accessible, and normally he's a huge challenge for most runs, as Steel types are kinda hard to deal with early on, but Firefang is a savior yet again here, and we handle him with ease. We can pick up the Dig TM a bit ahead, and now we can actually get our 3rd encounter from the Desert Resort. Initially, I thought it was available in the entrance part, and I thought I was just having trouble finding it since it's a 5% encounter, but apparently it's only available in the northern section. Whoops. It turns out to be none other than a Trapinch, which evolves into one of my top 3 favorite Pokemon of all time, so I'm excited for this one. We catch it and nickname it Lanayru, and it has a sassy nature, plus special defense and minus speed. Yikes. Not great, but oh well. Here, we can also talk to this weirdo who says we're the 2nd person that he's talked to out here. Wait a minute, 2nd? Who have you been cheating on me with, you son of a p-? Anyway, he gives us the Soft Sand item, which is going to be super helpful to power up Lanayru's ground moves. We make it through Join Avenue, remember this place for later, okay? And arrive in Nimbasa City, the beautiful entertainment hub of Unova. While grinding for the next gym, Shredder learns Dragon Claw at level 27, which should be amazing for us. By the Ferris wheel, we encounter one of the weirdest characters in the entire franchise. Huh? Achoo! You were just looking at me, right? When eyes meet, it's a fight. In other words, you just picked a fight with me, Nimbasa's feral Lipard? I hope you've got insurance. Ready? Lame, you're bolting? What a pathetic excuse for a guy. Ma'am, are you alright? What in the f? Then there's this girl going absolutely nuts zooming around. What kind of drugs are you people on? Let's get the hell out of this city ASAP. The Nimbasa City Gym is upon us, an electric-type gym which, looking at our team, doesn't really match up well against us, except against Swablu. We did have one super close call against an Elekid of all things though, as it crit Shredder down to 5 HP after we got paralyzed. Whew. Before Gym Leader Elisa's battle, I attached the leftovers on Shredder, the Soft Sand on Lanayru, and the Eviolite on Lakitutu since it's weak to her team. Let's do this. Elisa starts with an Emolga, and I lead with Shredder. Shredder resists all of her Pokemon's stab moves, so her Emolga is forced to use Pursuit, and our Dragon Claw does massive damage but just barely doesn't KO, and we get paralyzed by Static. After her Hyper Potion, we stay paralyzed, but our leftovers help us to recover basically to full before we can take it out in 2 more Dragon Claws. Laffy comes out next, and it misses its first takedown, but we stay paralyzed. Ultimately, it's only able to bring us to 72 HP after our leftovers, and in comes Zebstrika last. She gets a crit on her Pursuit, then we hit it to below half after a Citrus Berry, and then she goes for Resisted Flame Charge for some reason so we can take it out with over half. Man, Shredder absolutely, well, shredded her team. 4 badges. After the battle, one of her models says, "Beauty isn't just about looks." Easy for you to say, you're all 10s. In the gate leading to Driftvale, this guy says, "I wonder if the news on the bulletin board is just someone's mutterings."
The color of the city has changed from orange to emerald.
Jeez, I think you're right, dude. Bianca, where are you bringing me? Bianca? Oh god, please somebody help me! On the bridge to Driftvale, everybody is talking about how when it's raised, the bridge looks like Charizard. What? How in the world? Let's just check that. Nope, not seeing it. They just had to get Charizard in this game somehow, didn't they? In Driftvale, we start scoping out the hotels and, hey, wait a minute, an Axu. That's a potential encounter for us. It may belong to this girl, but Come here, you little sh**. And here is also one of the deepest things in Pokemon. This guy says, 3 years ago, Team Plasma talked me into letting my dear Pokemon go. To be honest, I feel lonely, but it's a good thing not to have Pokemon who will be left behind and feel sad after I pass away. Jesus, dude. In the market, we can pick up the Expert Belt, an amazing item that increases the power of super effective moves by 30%. It's time for the Ground-type Driftveil Gym. Against the trainers in here, Swablu is a great help due to its flying type, but there were still some challenges. The 5th gym leader is Clay, who, looking at his team, I'm quite worried about, especially since he leads off with a Krokorok with Intimidate right away, with all of our Pokemon being physical attackers at the moment. I theory crafted a long time for this battle, trying to theorize a way that we could pull through, and ended up giving Lanayru the Eviolite, Lakitutu the Leftovers, and Shredder the Expert Belt. Let's try this. I lead with Swablu to take the Intimidate and try a Sing right away after getting hit by Crunch for about half damage, and we land it to put it to sleep. From here I use a Return, which does a bit less than half, but our Leftovers is starting to help us. Another Return brings it low, and then it uses Torment. I figure he's going to heal here, so I take the opportunity to switch into Shredder as he does. We get hit by Crunch, and he gets a crit, plus the defense drop. Oh, not good at all, but we can take him out with Dragon Claw. His next Pokemon is Sandslash, which is quite physically bulky and powerful. I have no choice, so I stay in, and thankfully he just goes for Fury Cutter for some reason, but Dragon Claw does less than half. He then hits us with Fury Cutter again, and Dragon Claw brings him into the red. I know we'll get taken out if he changes moves or gets a crit, so I switch into Trapinch, and he did indeed go for Bulldoze, which does nearly half. He then misses a rollout, which would have done barely anything anyway, so we can take him out with our own Bulldoze. In comes the monster Excadrill. I have no choice, and I think we'll survive what he throws at us, and he hits us with Metal Claw, and we survive on just 8 HP and can hit him with Bulldoze, which brings him low and drops his speed, but his Citrus Berry activates to bring him above half. We are absolutely stuck here, as I know Swablu can't do any damage to him, and both Shredder and Lanayru are weak. I have to gamble with our best shot though, so I switch into Dredagon, he hits us with Slash, and we survive on just 2 HP. Oh man. Now here, I figured we'd outspeed since his speed was dropped by Bulldoze, but we don't. But he goes for Rock Slide and misses. Oh my god, why didn't he just go for Metal Claw or something? Holy, we were so lucky not to be punished there. I legitimately thought we'd outspeed, as that's why I wanted to hit Bulldoze so badly. The speed tier must have been either a tie or 1 stat point. Wow, 5 badges down and by the skin of our teeth. After destroying the Driftveil tournament at the PWT, Trapinch ends up evolving into a gorgeous Vibrava. Such a cool middle stage evolution. I love this thing, and we can still use the Eviolite on it too. At the Seasoned Research Lab, I found something incredibly cool. The attention to detail in these games was so great that if you talk to one of the NPCs, she normally gives you a weather forecast. However, if you talk to her with a Pokemon with the weather cancelling Cloud 9 ability in your party like Swablu, she says she's unable to today. What a game! Once we leave Chargestone Cave, we arrive in Mistralton City, the location of our next gym. Before the gym, I make sure to pick up the sharp beak from this woman in the airport, which should help with Lakitutu. Before the gym, an idea comes to mind, so I fly back to Driftveil where there's a move tutor who will teach moves in exchange for shards. I decide to teach Shredder Thunder Punch, which should be very helpful since the Mistralton Gym is a flying gym after all. In the gym, Swablu ends up learning Cotton Guard, which raises its defense, which is exactly why I had waited until level 39 for. So now we can also let it evolve into a beautiful Altaria, which should be helpful here. Even still, I'm feeling very nervous about Skyla's battle. Her team is quite a tough one, and we could send out Altaria and use Cotton Guard, but she also has a lot of special attacks. Skarmory is a major concern too, especially if we've already used Dredagon and it has some damage, since Steel Wing will do a lot and we only have physical moves, even if we do have Expert Belt super effectiveness against everything. I rack my brain for some way to make this less scary, and something comes to mind. Now that we have Surf, we technically have access to our next encounter in the Mistralton Cave, which is just off of Route 6. Here we can find none other than an Axew, which we catch successfully in a Dusk Ball and nickname it Haxel Rose. Haxel ends up having a bold nature, which is plus defense and minus attack. Ew, why? Just why? While grinding up, he learns Dragon Dance, which is incredible, and he also evolves into a more beastly Fracture just before the level cap. I also decide to teach it the Rock Tomb TM to help us out a bit more and put the Eviolite on it too. Skyla starts off her battle with a Swoobat, and I begin with Altaria. It hits us with Acrobatics for about a quarter, and I go for Fly. Now the reason for this is because our leftovers actually helps us twice, once when we can't be hit in the air and once when we come back down, and this strat allows us to take it down with only about a third damage. In comes Swanna next, and it hits us with Air Slash to below half, and then we land a Sing on it. Here, I switch into Haxel Rose, and unfortunately we actually miss our first Rock Tomb, but then we hit our second and lower its speed. That way we hit it down to the yellow again after its berry, and then it goes for Roost. We hit it again down to below half, and it uses Roost again, but now with its speed lowered, it can't flinch us with Air Slash, but it keeps roosting, so I switch into Shredder preemptively, but it gets a crit Air Slash on the switch. Are you kidding me? From there, Thunder Punch is a 4x super effective KO though. In comes the big threat Skarmory, and I actually stay in thinking we'll survive a Steel Wing, and we do on just 11 HP and can hit it hard to about half with Fire Fang, but no burn. I'm forced to switch here, so I go into Lanayru hoping for the Rocky Helmet activation, but she just used Air Cutter this time. I hit it with Rock Slide to about a quarter, then Steel Wing does a lot but gets recoil from the helmet, and now I have to switch, so I go into Haxel Rose as she Hyper Potions. I hit it with Rock Tomb, but it hardly does anything at all, and we're brought below half. I keep hitting it with Rock Tomb to drop its speed for my plan, but it keeps using Agility now, which is not good. Man, this thing is set up well. With it now below half and no longer having Rock Tomb power points, I go for Dragon Claw, and it seems we encouraged it to return its speed back to normal since it just went for Agility again. It eventually hits us to just 18 HP, and gets the defense boost from Steel Wing, so our Dragon Claw doesn't KO and leaves it in the red. Oh no, this is so bad. I'm forced to switch into Altaria, and it hits us with Steel Wing and gets another defense boost. Oh dear god. From here I go for Fly, and it actually missed a Steel Wing, but Fly does hardly anything, although our leftover strategy is helping. It hits us down to 26 HP, and I'm praying for the KO here, but it just barely survives due to one of those lucky defense boosts. I go for one more, and its Steel Wing brings us to just 13 HP, but we can now take it out with... What? It survived again? I can't do this anymore. I have no other choice, so I go for one more. We survive on just 3 HP and can take it down with a return. Oh my god, our team was absolutely decimated by that battle, but miraculously we pulled through. Our next destination is on Town, and we have to make it through Reversal Mountain first, during which we battle this poor guy in a rotation battle, but Altaria is literally his worst nightmare looking at his team. We also leave Bianca in there, and then hours later I came back and she was still looking lost. Bianca? Are you okay? In Undella Town, we have our next rival battle against Hugh, and I was thinking about leading with Dragon Dance, but his Unpheasant does have Taunt, so I went for Rock Tomb instead to lower its speed, and then took it down with a couple more. From there, Fracture has a slugfest with Embor, but eventually Hugh uses a Hyper Potion, so I switch into Altaria, who's able to take it down with a Fly, and is also able to take down his Simipour since it doesn't have an Ice move. Very manageable, but his team develops a lot from here. In Lacunosa Town, this old lady tells us a story about Kyurem, and then we kiss her goodbye as a thank you for sharing her wisdom. This guy outside then says, "My granny loves old stories. I'm always having to listen to her really, really long stories." My dude? I don't know how to say this, but I think I kissed your grandmother. We quickly make our escape to Opelucid City, where the 7th gym is found. While grinding up for it, Vibrava ends up evolving into one of my favorite Pokemon, Flygon, which is just a great Pokemon all around. The Opelucid Gym itself is of course a Dragon Gym, which puts us in a bit of a predicament as both our Pokemon and their Pokemon are super effective against each other. Kinda interesting. Fracture tends to handle these trainers quite well, although we did have a close call, but got rewarded as it finally evolves into a monstrous Haxorus right before the level cap. The gym leader Drayden has an interesting team. I noticed that he'd be programmed to go for super effective moves, but only has Dragon Tail, so he'd have to go for negative priority. Dragon Dance is tempting for that reason, but Dragon Tail also switches us out, so figuring we'd outspeed everything, I send in Haxorus anyway. Amazingly, Haxorus is able to sweep through his entire team with Stab super effective, Expert Belt boosted Dragon Claw by baiting their negative priority Dragon Tails. Poor man never stood a chance. Now the next part of the game is kinda crazy, and I've brought us to Join Avenue to prepare. I know what you're thinking, so what the hell is Join Avenue gonna help with? Well, if you've never used this place, it's actually quite great. You basically stop random people on the street and ask if they want to set up a shop, then once that's set up, you recommend the shop to other people to grow its reputation and increase its stock. I set up a florist shop here and eventually got to the point where they started selling some berries that we need. You'll see why in just a bit. Team Plasma then attacks Opelucid City with their massive flying pirate ship that shoots ice at cities, whatever that's all about, and thankfully most of the grunts have poison-type Pokemon, so Lanayru does a great job against them with Dig. In the middle of all the pandemonium, I ran into this football dude who is absolutely losing his f***ing mind. This guy is so out of place here, it's not even funny. Okay, it is. Now here is the pivotal moment. We have to battle against Zinzalin, one of Team Plasma's sages. Look at his team. We are absolutely screwed. Everything is super effective against us, 2 of our Pokemon are 4 times weak to ice, and his Weavile at the very least outspeeds everything, and Cryogonal's also wicked fast with a 105 base speed. This looks like the end of the run easily. However, this is why we did all the Join Avenue stuff. He leads with Cryogonal and I lead with Haxel. I go for Dragon Dance here, and Cryogonal of course goes for Ice Beam, but upgrading our Join Avenue shop gave us access to Yachi Berries to lower the power of ice moves, so now with supercharged attack and speed we can outspeed and take it down. Then one hit KO his second one with Dragon Claw, and then his Weavile comes out and uses priority Ice Shard, but we now survive on just 26 HP and can take it out in one hit with Dragon Claw. Incredible stuff. Without Yachi Berries, I sincerely think that was the definitive end of the run. Let's go. We next arrive at the tropical location of Hemlau City and... Hey, I know this is a gorgeous vacation spot and ooh, happy couple and whatnot, but cut it out! We're on a mission here. The 8th and final gym is the Hemlau Gym, a water gym, and aside from one Walrein in there, we didn't have too much of a problem with the trainers. I do love the lily pad idea though. Gym leader Marlin himself leads with a Caracosta, and I lead with Shredder with the Expert Belt. I hit him with Thunder Punch for over half, and then he uses Shell Smash, and now outspeeds us to hit us with Crunch for about half, but one more attack takes him out. Wailord comes out next and gets hit to the red with Thunder Punch, but then just goes for Amnesia. Interesting. After he Hyper Potions, we can take it out in 2 more attacks. His final Pokemon is Jellicent, and this thing can be quite troublesome, and it does outspeed us and hits us with Ominous Wind to 42 HP, then Crunch just barely doesn't KO and its Berry activates. From here, I'm forced to switch, so I go into Lanayru who gets hit by Ominous Wind, but thankfully it didn't get an Omni Boost from either one, and we can take it out with Crunch for our 8th and final gym badge. Our final adventure before the Pokemon League is taking care of Team Plasma, and there are some crazy battles ahead. First, on the Plasma Frigate is Zinzalin again, and this time in a double battle with Hugh, and I was very worried since now we have to worry about Zinzalin and an entire other team hitting us, but our Yachi Berry strategy pays off yet again as we're able to defeat him without any deaths. But part of that might have also been that he decided to Ice Beam Hugh's Emboar instead of us. Very strange stuff. After pulling off some hyper elite strats like using Fly to evade Explosion from a Weezing, we have one final battle with Zinzalin, this time a single battle in which we can pull off the same life-saving strat. Yeah, we definitely would have lost this run without the Yachis, I can tell you that much. The second last major Plasma battle is against Colress, who actually has a powerful Steel team, which is a major problem in most runs, starting with an Eviolite Magneton. As much as Lanayru seems like a shoo-in, I know it can't take that much damage, so I lead with Druddigon, who can use Expert Belt Firefang to take this thing down, being brought to just 28 HP in the process. Now that that thing's taken care of, I can switch into Lanayru for the prediction on Magnezone's Discharge, which we're immune to, and who absolutely decimates the rest of his team with Soft Sand boosted Dig since we outspeed everything. Although his Beheeyem hit us hard down to 31 HP with Psychic before we took it down with a Crunch. A solid battle. After Shredder shreds through the Shadow Triad with the Expert Belt, we have one of the coolest cutscenes in Pokemon as N tries to battle off against Kyurem, but ultimately loses. Still amazes me that this was on the original DS. After Haxorus takes care of Kyurem with some Dragon Claws, it's time for our ultimate Team Plasma challenge, Getsus. His team is an absolute nightmare to face in every run that we've done of this game. Just so much variety, bulk, and power. I decide I've really had enough of this dude, so I lead with Haxel and use Dragon Dance, and the risk here was toxic, but I put a Pecha Berry on to save us a turn of poison, go for Dragon Dance, then get Toxicked, and I reckon he'd go for Protect here to stall us out, so I risked another, and he did, and now we can absolutely ravage his Cofagrigus, Hydreigon, and Seismitoad with a +3 Dragon Claw sweep. I can't tell you how good this feels after all that he's put us through. We do get brought too low from poison for his last 3 Pokemon, Drapion first, so I switch into Lanayru, who bamboozles him with Levitate on his Earthquake attempt, and then Dig destroys him. From there it's a slugfest between Lanayru and Electros, and we emerge on top, and then his Toxicroak gets outsped and destroyed by super effective Stab Soft Sand boosted Dig. What a battle, gotta love it. On our way through Victory Road, we pick up the Dragonfang, and we actually have one final encounter in here before the League, interestingly enough. Now initially I couldn't find the damn thing, so I consulted Google, and every single video showed me he was exclusively available here, behind this door that the Zoroark is blocking, but the Zoroark only moves after you beat the Elite Four. I thought I had been absolutely gypped, but it turns out that it's also available further back, which all the YouTube tutorials had gone through in order to show me a different place where it was located. What the f***? That's right, our last encounter is none other than Azvalis, which we catch and nickname Hades. Hades has a sassy nature, plus special defense and minus speed, which is not great, but I did have the luxury to catch it in a luxury ball. Now, there is a problem here. The level cap for the champion is technically 59, but this thing only evolves all the way at level 64. Hydreigon is a special attacker, but as of right now, this thing has a better physical attack and has the hustle ability, which increases attack power at the cost of accuracy. So ultimately, I decided to train it in attack and its defenses and put the Eviolite on it. It's not Hydreigon, but honestly it seems like a pretty rad setup, so we'll see how it goes. Just before the League is our final rival battle with good old Hugh. He leads with Unpheasant and I lead with Haxel. Rock Tomb is a great move here, but then he U-turns into Bouffalante. I stay in and go for Dragon Claw for less than half, then he uses Head Charge, but we barely survive on 24 HP. Goodness gracious. I'm forced to switch, so I go into Azvalis for his debut battle, and he gets super effective Mega Horned. How did he predict that switch? I'm forced to switch into Lanayru, who also gets smashed below half, but now we can outspeed it and take it out at least. From here, his Simipour gets handled by a switch into Shredder, and his Emboar doesn't have much coverage on us, so I go for Dragon Claw after being hit to 28 HP, and then we can switch into Lakitutu for the Fly KO. GG, Hugh. It's time for the Pokemon League. I fulfill the rest of our EVs, teach Azvalis Crunch from the move reminder at the Pokemon World Tournament, get the Brick Break TM from the Battle Subway for Haxorus, and also use the move tutor to teach Tailwind to Altaria, which might be helpful at some point. Let's see what we can do. First up is Chantal, the Ghost-type Elite Four member. I thought about this battle for a while, but honestly no option seemed better than throwing Azvalis with the Eviolite out there. She leads with Cofagrigus, and I decide to go for Work Up to increase our attack, assuming she'd go for Will-O-Wisp to burn us so that I could keep our attack unaffected, but in fact she just goes for Shadow Ball instead, so I can then take it out with Crunch. Because Golurk is incredibly slow, we can then outspeed and one-hit KO it as well. Chandelure comes in next, and again we resist or are immune to everything it has, so it hits us with Fire Blast for little damage before we KO it with Crunch. Her last Pokemon is Drifblim, and it uses Acrobatics on us and gets a crit, but we survive on just 8 HP. Now, I didn't think it would crit us, but I knew that even if it did, if it hit us with Acrobatics, it would actually make its ability Mummy, canceling out Aftermath so we don't get damage after KOing it. Absolutely unbelievable. What an insane end to this battle. One Elite Four member down, and with a very close call. Next up, I decide to take on Grimsley, the Dark-type Elite Four member. He starts with a Liepard, and I send out Shredder. He hits us with Fake Out on the first turn for the priority flinch, and then uses Attract on the second, and we're unable to move. He then hits us with a Night Slash, and gets a crit. Man oh man, we are having some bad luck. But we finally get a Revenge off to take it out, which doubles in power if we're hit before the move. In comes Crocodile next with Intimidate, so I'm forced to switch. I go into Haxel, and we get hit by Crunch for a bit less than half, but our Rocky Helmet hurts it before we hit it with Brick Break, but it survives on just a sliver. It then hits us with Rock Tomb, which lowers our speed, meaning now we die to a Crunch. I switch into Lanayru while he heals, and I can't go for Dig since it has Earthquake, so I instead use Dragon Claw, and then it misses a Rock Tomb so we can take it out. In comes Scrafty, and it goes down after a Dig and 2 Dragon Claws, only hitting us with Rock Tomb in the meantime. Bisharp is his last Pokemon, and we still outspeed despite the speed drop, and with super effective Stab Dig, it barely doesn't KO him on like 1 HP, and then we get taken below half with Night Slash before we can KO with another. A bit messy, but we managed. The third Elite Four member is Caitlin, the Psychic-type trainer. She leads with Musharna, and I send out Shredder to hit it with Crunch before it hits us with Yawn. Thinking it might use Dream Eater now, I switch into Hades, but she uses Yawn again. Interesting. I switch back into Shredder, but then she does what I feared and uses Reflect to increase her team's defense. That is not good. I switch into Haxel here, and she goes for Yawn again, but I switched in here merely to use Brick Break, not for the damage, because it actually destroys the Reflect. I send Shredder back out as she heals, hit it with Crunch down to a third, and then she uses Yawn again. Ugh. I say forget it and just go for Crunch to take it down, and then we fall asleep. In comes Sigilyph now, which is a huge threat with Ice Beam, so I send in our best defensive Pokemon and hope for the best, and Hades indeed survives it with above half, so we can stay in, get hit by another, and we need the one-hit KO here, and we get it with Crunch. Whew. Reuniclus is our next Pokemon, and I go for Crunch immediately, which takes her out. Her final Pokemon is Gothitelle, and it actually outspeeds and uses Calm Mind thankfully, and then Crunch is able to do the job. The final Elite Four member is Marshall, and honestly, he's the one I'm most scared about. Looking at his team, instinctively I want to send in Altaria and use Cotton Guard to get our defense up. However, his throw has Rock Tomb, which would lower our speed, his Sock then has Rock Slide, and then his Conkeldurr has Stone Edge and Bulk Up, which it could use while we're in the air for the 2-turn fly, so I have to use a different strategy. He sends in Throw first, and I lead with Haxel. I decide my only way to beat this team, possibly Deathless, is to Dragon Dance. He hits us with Rock Tomb, and I know we need 3 Dragon Dances for the sweep, and thankfully the speed drops from Rock Tomb are also negated by our boosts. We get all 3 off successfully, and now we can sweep through his entire team with Dragon Claw, only having been brought to half. Thank God for the Dragonfang though, as my calcs told me that Conkeldurr wouldn't have gone down to even just the +3 Dragon Claw without it. It's time for the champion. The champion in Black 2 is none other than Iris, a dragon specialist, but she has a super varied team in this game. I spent a lot of time theory crafting for this one, as her Hydreigon, Druddigon, Archeops, Lapras, and Haxorus all have super effective moves against us. Her Hydreigon of course gives us no room to set up Dragon Dance either. So I came up with a bit of a crazy strategy, which is the only one I could see working given that we have to take out things like Aggron, Lapras, and Archeops in addition to her dragons. She leads with Hydreigon and I send out Altaria. Now Lakitutu is one of the only things I know we have that can survive a Dragon Pulse from this thing, and she does indeed outspeed us and hit us down to just 30 HP, then I use Tailwind to boost our speed. From here I use Dragon Pulse and it does only about 2/3 before she can then take us out. It's a rough loss, but I think it's a necessary one. Now here I can send in Shredder, who, with the Tailwind boost, can actually outspeed and take her down. This way we can serve Haxorus for later. She then sends in Lapras however, although I was thinking she'd send in her own Druddigon since it does have super effective moves. Lapras could absolutely slaughter our entire team however, so I hit it with Dragon Claw twice as it hits us with Ice Beam to bring us to 46 HP, then heals, then I go for Dragon Claw once more to about half before having to let Shredder get taken down. With Lapras at half though, I can now switch into Haxel, who can outspeed and take it down with Brick Break and the Expert Belt attached. In comes Archeops, and it outspeeds and hits us with Dragon Claw for massive damage to 69 HP. Nice. I can then get a Dragon Dance off though, so we now outspeed and take it down with our own Dragon Claw. Druddigon then comes in and suffers the same fate. Aggron comes in next, and I go for 4 times super effective Brick Break, and we got a crit, but according to my calcs, it wasn't even necessary. Her final Pokemon is her own Haxorus, and our almighty dragon is just too powerful at this point. However, Iris does have a Focus Sash on hers, so it's then able to use Dual Chop to take out the infamous Haxel Rose. A sad loss, but Lanayru is seeking ultimate vengeance as he outspeeds and Dragon Claws her Haxorus to death to win the battle. Incredible stuff. We did it. We became the champion in a Hardcore Nuzlocke with only Dragon types. That was such a ridiculously fun and strategic run. I was really surprised since Dragon types are known to just kind of power through things, but we really had to come up with a lot of different strategies given our limited encounter choices, and with the fact that we even made this run possible logistically, I'd say this was a successful mission. If you enjoyed the run, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button as it really helps a lot and grows our community. A huge thanks to my YouTube members and patrons who make these videos possible. If you'd like to support and get your name up here, the links are also down below. If you enjoyed, drop a like down below to help the video out and leave a comment letting me know what kind of run we should do next, and I'll see you guys for our next challenge video.